timely issue and an important one, and I'm very honored and humbled to be a part of a panel with as much experience and moral weight as this one does. It truly is the thrill of a lifetime to compete in Olympic Games. I spent more than 17 years preparing and training and competing so that I could compete into the Salt Lake Olympics in 2002 and then in the Torino Olympics in 2006 representing my country. I was a bronze medalist in 2002 and a gold and silver medalist in 2006 in Torino. And oftentimes the American media, it really plays up the competitive aspect of the games. What really matters, we're led to believe, is who's the winners, who are the losers, what's the medal counts, and which nation stands on top. It is certainly the case that the Olympics is a competitive event. But in my opinion, having experienced two of them now, that's not the real majesty of the Olympics. I have a story that I like to tell, and it illustrates, in my opinion, really what I think the true power of Olympic sport is, and ultimately what the Olympic ideal, which we pay a lot of lip service to and oftentimes don't live up to, I think this story exemplifies. I'm asked oftentimes what my favorite memory is, and it's as outstanding to stand on the podium as a gold medalist with the national anthem playing and a flag raising. But one of my favorite memories is the very first time I walked into an Olympic village. Within the village, very few people are ever accepted in. There's no press. There's no family. It's just the athletes who've qualified. And you walk into this big hall, and the flags of all the nations that are competing are draped from the ceilings. And you walk in, and your eyes light up because this is the moment you've dreamt of since you were 9 or 10 or 11 years old. And you look down, and you see all the athletes from the world. And it's this great tapestry of colors because every nation wears their colors on their back. And at first your eyes are so wide and you're so struck by this experience you're finally making. It takes a little while for you to realize that as you look out, you see athletes from Europe and from Asia, from Africa, from North America, from South America, and we all sit at the same tables. We sit together and we break bread, and we eat and we laugh. And oftentimes, although when we compete on the field of play, we lay our heart and souls out there and we compete with all that we have, the cameras never catch us when we return and we're able to laugh and share our experiences and hug and talk about this shared reality that so few people on earth have ever got to experience. I said in my written testimony that it's not uncommon to see Japanese and Chinese athletes sitting together and talking, or Europeans from nations that our grandfathers fought to the death and decimated an entire continent, being best friends, being lifelong friends. And there's actually quite a few Olympic marriages, you'd be surprised. That story is never told about the Olympics, but to me that one is something that exemplifies what this Olympic ideal is all about. We talk about, when you speak of the Olympics, you speak about sport transcending mere competition. We talk about being able to use sport to promote the values of peace and common brotherhood and humanity. And oftentimes it's just kind of boilerplate. It's something that sounds nice. The only way it can be a true reality is if we take that flowery language and we choose to live it in our everyday lives. After the 2006 Olympics, when I was a gold and silver medalist, I had a brief moment of media spotlight. And I thought of all the lessons that I learned from sport, and I realized the most important one was that myself, an athlete from Europe, an athlete from China, an athlete from Africa, many of us have much more in common than we have different. In fact, I may have something more in common with a speedskater that grew up competing in China than I do with someone I may meet walking down the street. As we get ready in the next year and a half for the 2008 Summer Olympics in Beijing, many people are going to say, I don't see the connection between a sporting event and a genocide going on the other side of the world. In fact, I believe one of the foreign ministers of China was just quoted in the Washington Post saying that there are many activists who are trying to link this and that they'll fail because politics and the Olympics don't match. They don't mix. And I think, with all due respect, that that's the exact opposite message. I think he's absolutely incorrect. The sole reason we have an Olympics is so that we can live up to the ideals that we profess. It's already been said, of course, the financial relationships between China and Sudan. But I think it's also important to point out that by choosing to host an Olympics, China in particular looks to use this as its coronation on the world stage. They are an enormously developing nation. They're going to be a world power, if they're not yet, very shortly. And you don't get to host the Olympics. You don't get to host this great event with all of the glow and all of the good feelings that come along with it without accepting the responsibility of what you're proclaiming. It is my intention, as we go through for the next year and a half and prepare for this Olympics, to travel out into the world and tend to begin to recruit athletes not just from the U.S., because I think that the U.S. has already done a reasonable job, and I think will continue to improve in terms of what we are working on to try and stop the genocide in Darfur, but to recruit athletes from all over the world, because it's not just nations that have to live up to the Olympic ideal. I think the athletes that are competing also have a responsibility. So I've founded an organization entitled Where Will We Be? And over the next year and a half, I seek to bring other athletes, because as the glow from the Torino Olympics fades and the star of the Beijing Olympics ascends, I think it's vital that new young hearts and new energy are brought into the fight. I hope that by the time the Beijing Olympics begin, we don't have to have another testimony, another hearing about this. I hope that the nations of the world have lived up to this responsibility. I hope that the competing nations in the Olympics will live up to the ideals that they profess. But I believe that if they're not ready to make that decision, that the athletes of the world will have to take a leadership position in that respect. I appreciate you giving me the time, and I also thank you deeply for making this an issue and keeping this on the national and the world stage.
We appreciate your testimony, Mr. Chief. Thank you.